TV is proud to support local producers and share local voices, ideas, and opinions. For more information, please visit our website.
Welcome back to KickBack. I am now joined by Andrea. Andrea, thank you so much for joining me today, for sharing your story, and I just really appreciate you being open to do so.
It's my pleasure, honestly. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And so you wanted to share about the concept of being diagnosed late in life with ADHD, and can you share a little bit about what that was like?
It was a lot of denial.
Right.
It was a lot of denial first. I knew a lot about neurodivergence because it is close to me, but couldn't picture myself as being someone who would ever be diagnosed. I managed to fly under the radar, I guess you could say. I don't have the typical ADHD traits or symptoms or I do now, right, in hindsight, in reflecting. And now I also have a better understanding of why and how my life and the events that I've experienced created some of the cover-ups. So it was a little surprising. And I sometimes still I'm learning to go, oh, that's also something that is neurodivergent. Right. Yeah.
Was it something that was like validating in the sense of like, oh, that makes total sense? Or was it like, what was that experience like to receive that diagnosis?
So my first feeling when you said that was a little bit of sadness. For a moment, I felt validated. And then I felt sad, realizing that such a huge part of me and the things about me, the way I do things, all kind of stemmed from things in my earlier childhood. Right. And so I had to do a lot of reflecting and forgiving and realizing that I don't need to go and unpack it all at the same time. Right. But yes, it was validating for a moment. I was like, okay, so this, all of a sudden I felt the way I do towards people who are close to me, the compassion that I give them, I suddenly gave myself. But then it was, so I did reflect back and I made the decision that I did not have to unpack it all immediately. So slowly over time, I will heal from some of those things, but yeah.
And I think that can be, I think a lot of people can make that mistake of once it's almost like an addiction in a way of like wanting to unpack it all. Like you go and that can't be healthy to be able to unload all of that weight that you've carried over that time.
It is the OCD tendency. So that's one of my earlier diagnoses was OCD, and it is the OCD tendency to ruminate and not be able to let go. So like you said, addiction, sort of like you hold on to the need to ruminate on it until you feel you've reached a conclusion, but this could go on for a very long time. So I had to make a conscious choice and remind myself that it wasn't something I needed to do all at once. So, I mean, it's a process, it's a growth process. I can't say I will ever regret learning about myself, even though sometimes it's difficult.
Right. Yeah. And you hinted on it there about the idea of treating yourself the way that you would have treated like a loved one. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
So I did. I put that into practice. And I know that we've talked about that before when we are feeling low and unsure about, when we feel we need rest as individuals, oftentimes I should be doing something, I should, or, I'm not accomplishing anything, and then you have guilt. But what would you say to someone, your young adult child or a best friend, a coworker. You know, the work will be there tomorrow. The rest is important today. And so that is kind of the approach I took, the compassion I would give somebody else.
Right.
Yeah.
And in your journey, which we're about to get into, how important is it to ask for help? How important was it for you to ask for help?
When I knew I needed to ask for help, it was, I'm going to say life or death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was that important to ask for help.
Right.
Yeah.
And once I know that's, to ask for tripping over my words, to ask for help can be the most difficult part of the journey.
Yeah.
But once you did ask for help, what was that experience like for yourself?
That's validating. I have a helping person in my life. She is my therapist that I've seen for well over a decade. So she knows me, and she knows that I'm, generally speaking, I'm pretty on top of things and very self-aware. So when I came to her and said, this is my situation, I remember noticing her posture as she completely started to connect with me and empathize. And I was like, okay, she's my ally. She's going to help me. And so I could rest for a moment in her chair, like right. just at ease for just a moment before I got into my story and unpacking how, you know, the last month has been. And so then it was a sense of control. Before I left that hour-long appointment, I had a sense of a little bit of control over what I felt. I had none before I walked in. Now we had, you know, a step in the right direction, a small plan, a little, and I had her to reach out to if I needed help between this appointment and the not so distant appointment, because we got together closer to make sure that I was making some progress. So it felt, I want to say it felt like the right move. I knew it was the right move. By the time I left it, I felt it was the right move, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And
yeah.
I think that there's a lot of stigma and shame that can go around, like, and thankfully that's disappearing.
Thankfully,
of sharing,
yes.
sharing that you have seen a therapist, right?
Yeah.
And you saw that help. And I think that it should be seen as a more integral piece of the puzzle for everyone dealing with their mental health, because you had that person already in place.
Yeah,
right.
She already
and
knew my background.
Right, and
yeah.
and you were able to see her in a potentially like really positive place.
Yeah.
So she was able to see that difference.
Yeah.
So setting yourself up to have had that, to then seeing that like 180.
Yes.
So to speak, was then you've already kind of cleared all those hurdles of like, who are you, what do you do, how do you, like
Yeah.
she had that education.
Yes.
Can you
All
just
so important. Yeah.
Right.
And I am I'm nodding and I'm agreeing with everything you're saying, and I'm relating it to every area of our life.
Mm-hmm.
Your family doctor, and your file and your records and your children's file and records, they all go with you. You know, if you are someone who sees a chiropractor or a physiotherapist, and then your visits are fewer, like they're further apart now because you're doing really well, right. But then you have, like, you pull a muscle, or then you go back and they already know exactly what's going on with you. It's revisiting and putting another plan in place, but it's like solution focused instead of digging up history and reaching, like, when did this start and what's your history been like? It's very solution focused. This is the difference. This is what's happened. Here's what we have to do. And that you can see that in all areas of your life.
This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
My name is Chef D. Most days, you'll find me feeding high-profile personalities in even higher-pressure kitchens. But now I'm taking an ordinary food truck and a slice of summer to get out of my comfort zone and into parts of the community normally out of my reach. It's a gamble, but if I can use my passion for food to help out some amazing folks, it'll be worth the road trip.
Long way from Nashville, and mama, I tell you that. Performed from Montreal to Boston to Los Angeles. But Toronto, That's my chosen home. Sure, when I'm walking down Young Street, I see some funny people who have the nerve to point the finger at me. Grin and smile and whisper. My song was #2 on local radio. Sold 10,000 in Toronto alone. Turned down Ed Sullivan because they asked me to remove my makeup. Wouldn't do American Bandstand because of their segregation policies. I was just being me. Never tried to explain myself to anyone. And besides, none of that to worry, Jackie, because I know I look good. Got a new way of loving, baby. Thought I want to teach it to you.
Jackie Shane was a pioneer transgender soul singer, a central figure in the Toronto R&B scene. She helped shape what we know as the Toronto sound.
Have you ever thought about just how much politics you speak about just in your own kitchen or in your living room? Or how many important ideas are shared or solutions to some of the world's biggest problems? Well, you're in luck, because I'm inviting some of my friends to come and speak to me about everyday politics, and I'm bringing my living room to you. So join me on Wednesday evenings from 6 until 7 for Everyday Politics with Laura May Lindo.
My name is Aaron from Monster Heat on YouTube, and if you love extreme challenges like I do, then you'll get to witness some of this. See, over here at Monster Heat, we do it all, and you can watch it all on Rogers TV.
Think it's okay to drive high? Think again. Drug-impaired driving is as illegal as drunk driving, and in Ontario, the penalties are the same. If police suspect you're driving under the influence of drugs of any kind, or a combination of drugs and alcohol, and you fail a roadside test, your license will be suspended immediately for up to 30 days. You'll pay a penalty of $198. And you can be charged with a criminal offense of impaired driving, the same as alcohol. Driving high is never okay.
Welcome back to KickBack. My name is Ben Strasser, and we are proudly presented by CMHA, Brant, Haldeman, Norfolk. I am now joined by Linda. Linda, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Ben.
I met you randomly at the Beats and Eats Festival in downtown Brantford,
Correct.
Where you were sharing your beautiful art.
Oh, thank you.
And I was just so impressed with what you create, but more so why you create, and where that comes from. Can you share a little bit about that?
Certainly. So I'm a mother of 3. I lost my baby October 31st, 2023, due to complications of type 1 diabetes. I hadn't really picked up art for a long, long time, but the way I started healing and getting back into some kind of process was by picking up the paintbrush again 8 months after her death. And what I was expecting was nothing but darkness and dismal artwork, and not expecting this fabulous, sort of like colorful, brilliant pieces.
Very vibrant.
Very vibrant. Yeah. And so I decided at that point, before picking up the paintbrushes, that I didn't want to really have anything in mind of what I wanted to paint, but I had gone on YouTube and watched things like intuitive painting, and I thought, I'm really going to give that a try, because I'd never done that before. When I first started painting, it was during COVID, and it was at a time where you couldn't really go hiking, and I'm a photographer, so I like to go out and take photographs and hike, and I was very limited. So I went on YouTube and I started painting, started off with flowers, and but then after Megan passed, it was it just had more meaning, and I just really needed something to keep my mind occupied. So what I would ultimately do is put music on when I painted, but I would clear my mind and it would just come to me naturally. So some days or sometimes a painting would take maybe a week. Other times I'd be surprised and find that it took hours. And it would just blow me away when you look back and you think, is it finished? Have I done enough? Do I add this? Do I add that? But intuitively, it always told me that this is it. This is the piece that you need to present. So Beats and Eats was my first sort of introduction to my paintings, and the reception was great.
What was the reception when people approached your tent?
It was a very positive experience, which oddly enough, I felt really confident about telling my story about Megan. And the whole pieces, they're called Since You've Been Gone. That was sort of like, the first piece I did was huge. It was like 30 by 40.
Wow.
Never done anything like that before. And it was very bright, and it just had Megan all over it. So telling people the story, grieving through art, is what I called it.
Right.
But the paintings in the collection that I was doing was called Since You've Been Gone, meaning this is what I've created, Megan, since you left me, right? And so people were really receptive to the whole idea. And then I had a picture of Megan and myself, so I could talk to people proudly and memorably about her, and say her name, which is really important.
Yeah.
And people were very receptive. And you know, you got a lot of condolences and things like that, but also at the next event, which is what you had organized and asked me to be a part of, which I was very proudly able to do that and looking forward to it. The reception there was the same, but it was a different crowd of people. And I think it was because there was more people there was people from out of town, and they were with friends. So I ran into artists that had gone through the whole process of grief, losing a husband, a spouse, not necessarily a child, but someone who, you know, was very important to them, and they loved them and missed them. And they were artists, and they just gave it up completely. And so when they saw my work and heard my story, they were so inspired by that they were going to go back home, start getting their supplies, and starting to pick it up again.
Right.
Yeah, so I think if anything, if I helped people out that way, I'm very humbled by that, because that wasn't my intention. It was just, this is the path it's taken me, so.
Well, what a beautiful legacy to be creating actively for Megan.
Yes.
Right, to be able to inspire through her life, she's inspiring your paintings, which then are in turn inspiring other people that are navigating grief, which I believe is like one of the, if not the hardest, one of the hardest things that we as humans have to go through, is losing loved ones. And I can't imagine the loss of a child and how difficult that would be, and how you've turned such a difficult thing into something so beautiful. And we're going to have some of your paintings popped up during this interview.
Oh, lovely. Thank
to be
you.
able to show that off, because I think they're just gorgeous.
Thank you.
But what does that mean for you to be able to have Megan live on through this art?
Oh my goodness, it's very hard to put into words. It's not something that I had expected at all. And very proud of the work. Never expected to get the response that I've received. Megan is a part of all of that. So that I can see her shining through every piece. And if you notice on every piece, there's her initial, M.
Yeah.
And that's just random, but it's just slotted in there at some point while doing the paintings.
Yeah.
But if I can share those with other people that are, you know, excited about how it developed, how it all began, and they can share that story with other people, then I think I've done my due diligence as far as keeping her memory alive, because I think that's really important.
Yeah, well, and I think that so many people struggle with the loss, but don't necessarily find an outlet or take the step to be able to begin like the healing journey.
Yes.
That they, I mean, ideally should go on, right? And they can get stuck in just the darkness of loss.
Yeah, and being stuck is okay, because grief is a long journey. It's only been 2 years since she passed, and she passed away on October 31st, like Halloween of all days. That was her favorite holiday.
Right.
So we're left with all of those memories. But it is a long time, and there's podcasts that I've picked up on, like Mel Robbins with David Kessler, who lost his son at 21, and it's just nice to get different perspectives of how other people are handling things, but not to beat yourself up, because there's times where you feel you can't pick yourself up off the floor. And what is my purpose here?
Right.
And so, yeah, it's beneficial, I think, personally. Like if you go to Stedman Community Hospice, many people may not know about it, but they have a bereavement program for one-on-one and group sessions. And I went to 4 groups, and I found that very beneficial because this is before I picked up the painting again, was that it educated me and let me know that I was not going crazy.
Right.
I was not going insane. This is what grief is. And you have to go through it, you have to feel it, and you have to do whatever makes you, you know, whole again, which will never happen because I'll never be the same person that I was before Megan passed.
Right, and the absolute worst thing that you could possibly do is suppress.
Exactly.
Suppress those feelings. You need to sit with them and feel them.
You're watching an interesting local show on Rogers TV and you want to know more. That's when you head to rogerstv.com. Our website provides more information about our programs, our hosts, our schedule, and about how you too can get involved with Rogers TV. Visit us online at rogerstv.com.
We were born in Canada. We spoke English. On the streets, we weren't welcome. But on the field, we were the Asahi, Vancouver's champions. Everyone cheered for us. Our people had a voice. Then Canada declared war on Japan. They took us from our homes, called us enemies, forced us into camps. But we brought the game with us. Baseball helped get us through the internment.
The Vancouver Asahi were among the 22,000 Japanese Canadians interned during the Second World War. The team never played another game.
What's Up Stratford is a monthly look at what's happening in and around Stratford. Host Peter Morange talks to a variety of guests, from politicians to artists. What's Up Stratford, Sundays at 3:30 p.m.
The husband has legal title to the farm properties. I see no reason to entertain the wife's appeal any further.
If I may, I find there are in fact many reasons, both legal and moral.
For our neighbors, Laura. We should always do what we can. It's our responsibility.
Laura, your desire to ignore the legal precedent is preventing us from moving forward in this.
Moving forward is precisely what I believe we must do.
Laura Laskin says he was among the top of his class at Harvard Law. He's a Jew. But he's not one of those flashy Jews.
No, we have an opportunity to make a difference in the lives of people today, men and women. The law is not a fixed thing. It should change with the times to reflect our changing values. There is no just reason to treat the wife's contribution to the farm as any less significant than the husband's.
Laura Laskin, the first Jewish Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Canada, fought for fairness and civil rights for all Canadians.
For 25 years, you've been helping to make our roads safer by doing the right thing. You've been the designated driver, you've stayed over, called home, you've called a cab or a friend, and planned ahead. Let's keep doing the right thing. Support sober driving by getting yourself and your friends home safely.
Do the right thing.
Visit ArriveAlive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive. Drive sober.
Welcome back to KickBack. My name is Ben Strasser, and this year we are presented by CMHA Brant Haldeman Norfolk, and I'm now joined by Stephanie. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us again.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me back.
It's wonderful. I mean, I think you've been a part of almost every year, which is wonderful, and it's so cool to see your journey. Both as a businesswoman and as a mom too. Yeah. And that's part of what we wanted to talk about today. was just navigating being a business owner and leading a team.
Yes.
You have a very large team.
Large team.
And also navigating like the home life as well. And so can you just share a little bit about what maybe your day-to-day looks like?
Oh my goodness. I think one of the things that I love so much about my role as a group practice owner of Mindful Path Counseling and also owning my other business, Therapist Off the Clock, and having a family is that every day is actually a little bit different. Right. So the home life with the kids in our routine might look the same every single day. So getting breakfast, out the door, daycare, all those things. And then my day starts around 9:30. But once my day starts, every day looks different. So some days I might be doing clinical work. Some days I might be doing more supervision work, and then other days I might be doing the administrative stuff, behind the scenes, social media, all of the kind of working the business things that we have to do.
Right, and like for somebody that maybe is standing back and looking in, and they might be thinking, how do you make all of that happen?
Oh yes, I get this all the time. Like, how do you do all of the things that you do? And if I'm being 100% honest, I'm not necessarily the one doing all of the things. So I started doing all the things back in 2017 when I was a solo practitioner before I became a group practice owner. And that was 2 years. I did solo by myself, so 2017 to 2019. And at that time I was doing all the things. I might have created our Instagram, doing a few posts, a few reels or lives, and doing the clinical work and the billing. But after 2019 was when things started to shift. I started to realize that the business was really exploding. A pandemic hit in 2020. Mental health really shifted, and so I had to shift. So I started hiring practitioners at that point. I started bringing on student interns, and then from 2019 till the end of 2022, it was me running the small team that I had of 5 people, and then from there shifted to having to hire admin and billing and social media support, because I think what people don't realize is I don't do all of the things behind the scenes. I have an amazing team that supports me, and also an amazing team at home. My partner, my oldest child, helps with some of the business practices in terms of organization of the clinics and the cleaning. My partner does the snow removal. So there's all of these different pieces that I don't necessarily do, but from the outside looking in, everyone's like, wow, you do so many things in one day. Yes, I do. And I have about 5 or 6 other me doing all the things, because otherwise it's not possible, and it's also not sustainable.
Right, and I feel like that is part of what Rachel and I, my wife, live as well on a day-to-day basis with the studio here at Up Yoga and Wellness where we are today, and having Theo's 5 and Benny's almost a year old, and so just juggling those, like their needs as well, and just that what they need from you as a parent, and then how you interact with the world to make sure that you show up for both them, for your partner, and then also for your team at work. What does that look like for you to kind of navigate that balance?
Yeah, it's really hard, and I'm sure you realize this, and Rachel realizes this too, that having kids and having a business is not easy. And so for me, I have Haley, who's 17, so she started driving this year in grade 12, so we applied for university, and so what does that transition look like, and showing up and making sure I went to the meet and greets and things like that to help her pick and show up for her. And then I also have 2 younger babies, because I had a really big gap for people who don't know me. I have a Ren who's turning 4 next week, and then I have Talon who's 17 months. And so I'm kind of in all of these different life stages all at one time, which then adds another kind of layer or complication to it. So I have to show up for a teenager, a toddler, a baby, my partner, my business, and for myself. And so the balance of everything, it's not perfect in any way, and it changes all the time. And I think that's one of the most important things that I realized being a new mom again, just because there was such a big gap in my first baby to my second, and then being a business owner of multiple businesses, is that the structure and my time management and my agenda, it changes all the time. Sometimes I have to show up more for my kids and my family just because of what's going on in our personal life, and then other times I'm able to spend a little bit more energy into the business. And so just working to ebb and flow and not being too rigid has really helped me be at peace with, okay, maybe it's not a big growth year for me. Maybe it's really we're focusing on getting Haley off to university and focusing on the transition of the toddler and the baby. And then maybe next year there's more growth when things change again. And so I think just giving myself permission to sometimes step in and sometimes take a step back.
Right, and I think that that's probably the biggest piece is that permission. Was that a natural thing for you to learn that, or was that something that it took a bit?
A lot of therapy. No, absolutely not. I think giving clients, like when I invite clients to take permission for themselves, I'm really good at inviting people to do that. But when I, turned inward and looked to myself, I always struggled. Had to be perfect. I had to work 12 hours a day to feel like I, made the most of it and I was successful. Have to do all of the things for the kids and do the business, and it's just not possible. And so I think really 2025, I focused on boundaries. I focused on giving myself permission. And I also focused a lot on rest in 2025, which people I think are still going to be shocked because it's like you did all the things. Again, lots of support. And I really did rest a lot and lived into myself. I demonstrated probably the most self-love I've ever given in my life in 2025. I started saying no a lot more. And I started giving myself permission to make mistakes, take risks, and just show up for my family and my own needs.
Amazing. And so what would you, for somebody that is watching at home, and I think this will be a twofold question, but somebody that's maybe already in the thick of all of the things and is navigating life and it seems like chaos, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, it can get really overwhelming. So having a really good support network, especially other moms who get it, other business owners who get it, is so important. When I had a business coach, I found that really shifted things for me. I was able to look at all the things that were going really well, and just having confirmation of that provided ease. And then it also gave me an opportunity to take some shifts and risks and know that yes, it is the right time to hire someone to support me, and yes, it is the right time to bring on someone to focus just on billing because it's such a big task. And so I think just like knowing when it's the right time. And if you don't know, business coach or mentor was huge for my transition and success in 2025.
Amazing. And the second part of that question is for somebody maybe that's at home, maybe has a child or two or three, or but is watching and they see what you are doing and they think that that's not something that's achievable for them. What would you say to them?
It 100% is possible, and remember, I didn't start here. So when I started, it was just me, and this is even before my relationship with my partner and my 2 kids. Like, it was just me and Haley, and I started there. I started my degree. I was in school. I was working hard. So you can start at any point. It's possible, and just having the right support to get you there, like with women and business and community connections, is super helpful. But just start small. Like, pick one small task, small goal every day, and then create a goal for the week, create a goal for the month, and then you would be amazed where you can get in 1 year.
Hi, I'm Mike Farwell, and I'd like to invite you into this studio every weekday from 9 until 1 for a show that I think you're going to like. It's called The Mike Farwell Show, and it deals with the issues of the day. Local, provincial, national, even international. You'll hear from the newsmakers, and you'll get the chance to make news yourself when you call in and share your opinion. If you want to know what's going on in your community, The Mike Farwell Show is the place to find out.
Aging Well brings you conversations with experts to help empower your golden years with enthusiasm and optimism. Don't miss Aging Well with Angela and Alice Liu, Mondays at 7 p.m.
Here are 3 reasons why your social strategies should include Rogers TV. Reason number 1 is we have hyper-local audiences. The community TV channel gives you a chance to engage with people where you live, so you really get to know your neighbors and they get to know you. Reason number 2 is we can help diversify your distribution. With social media, it's really important to be able to have a wider audience, and Rogers TV can actually help complement your online presence by delivering to a different audience. And it's actually really easy to repurpose your existing content or to just create new material specifically tailored for community TV. And finally, reason number 3 is we can help enhance your credibility and your trust. And by aligning your brand with Rogers TV, you can tap into that trust that viewers have. This can boost your reputation, especially among viewers who favor local businesses and value community involvement. 1, 2, 3. It's that easy to build your local audience with Rogers TV.
David Prang from the Chamber of Commerce Brantford Brant speaks with community members about events and organizations that impact the city of Brantford and the county of Brant. Chamber TV, Thursdays at 6:30 p.m., right here on Rogers TV.
Oh, folks, Not Tonight with Giovanni Petiti has killer monologues, great local guests who have too much talent for national late night, and this show's got high energy. Bills. It's the show TV critics are saying is just like Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, if you ordered it on Temu. So join me Sundays at 9 p.m. on Rogers TV. Hey, I've seen your social calendar. What else do you got to do, huh? Nice.
After a night out with your friends, not having a plan for a safe ride home can leave you in a bad spot. You could end up riding in a police car, an ambulance, or a hearse. These unplanned modes of transportation can be a costly choice and do not take you home. Your plan could include a designated driver, a taxi, or public transit. Drink responsibly, choose your ride, and have a plan for a safe ride home.
Visit arrivealive.org to find out more.
Welcome back to KickBack. We are at Lost Bandit Bike Co. today. We are proudly presented by CMHA Brant Haldeman Norfolk, and I'm now joined by my friend Cynthia. Cynthia, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Joining us today. Really appreciate you coming on to share your story. Your story is layered in trauma. Can you share your story, please?
Yeah, so I am the daughter of a residential school survivor and a very, very sexually, physically, emotionally abused mother. Those two people met and they had some kids and they passed that trauma on to all of us. So I grew up in abject poverty, on the reservation, no water. We moved a lot. We were evicted a lot because of my parents' addictions. And my father was extremely physically abusive because residential school was the place that took from him the ability to love. So growing up, it was fear and tension and constantly being on guard, you know, kind of that feeling where you're walking on eggshells all the time or you're walking onto a frozen lake just hoping it doesn't crack. And then at 14, I ran away from all that abuse and became homeless for about a year and, you know, experienced trauma and dated people that reminded me of my parents, ended up in the hospital almost dead by 18. And then at 19, my mother had a massive stroke from her addictions and I became her caregiver. Yeah, so it got pretty heavy for a long time. And then I took care of her for a long time until she lost her battle with cancer 7 years ago. And it's kind of just been what I do, yeah.
Right, and how has everything that you've experienced shaped how you show up in life for your family, for your friends, and the communities that you're a part of?
So I feel like everyone has a certain level of trauma, be that a small trauma, capital T trauma, and there's so many ways that we share those experiences. And I try really, really hard to listen to people and be there for people because growing up, I didn't have that. Right. I didn't have a community, I didn't have family, I didn't have friends. So I've tried to build that through my work, through my community and friends, and to try to just show up, you know, show up for people that need it, people that don't have partners or don't have family. And I think that learning through trauma what you can lack in your life can lead you to an incredible amount of gratitude for what you have, no matter how small that may be. Right. So moving through life, I look for ways. I look for joy, I look for gratitude, and I look for things in people to make them feel good and happy. If I see something, I say something. I'll say like, oh, you have pretty eyes today, or I like your shirt. And I just try to show up and help people feel noticed as much as I can.
Right, and I think that just really speaks volumes of who you are and just how you show up in the world, because I had no idea of what your story included until we started talking about this, and you said, I'd like to share, and I thank you for that. And just to see how you show up in the world, just how much your light shines in the communities that you're a part of, it's amazing that you do that for them.
Well, and it could have gone so many ways, right? We are in a world of turmoil and pain. We're also in a world of joy and beauty. And statistically, being an Indigenous woman, you know, I could have gone missing and been gone from this world, the child of addicts, abuse, all of that. So I think that after everything I've experienced, the fact that I'm here alone in any capacity is a blessing. And I try really hard to help people see that they are a blessing, because I truly feel like everyone on earth is. I feel like we have this part of us that only sees our trauma and only sees our pain and only sees the things we can't do or the ways that fear has gripped us because of past experiences. And we miss that part where we look at ourselves and see all of the beauty and all of the talent and all of the creativity and love that we just innately have.
Right, and it's very easy to get lost in that, especially in just how busy life is.
Yeah, like there's so much commotion, there's so much noise, social media, other people, expectations of you everywhere you go. So you can get really overwhelmed and really lost, and it's important that we take time to talk to each other about that, so that when we're feeling that way, we can give ourselves and each other a hug and say, you know what, it's okay that you feel overwhelmed. And that's a big part of it, is that self-compassion.
Right, and know for the audience that's watching right now, and maybe it's somebody that has had a similar path to you, but maybe hasn't taken the steps to take on the world the way that you have. What would you share with them?
I would share with them that, first of all, you're not alone. Tragically, there's so much in the world that's there to harm us, and so many ways that we will be failed by those that we think should love us. And I think it's important to know that that doesn't make us unlovable. And it's important to remember that we are worthy of support and love and community and friends, and that there are people around us that want to be there for us, and that feeling vulnerable can be scary, but sharing does this beautiful thing. It tells us that we're surrounded by people that understand us. And sometimes when you feel alone and when you feel like nobody gets your pain, just talking to someone and them saying, oh my gosh, I get that. This happened to me too, can feel incredibly, incredibly supportive and loving, and create this bond with everyone around us. It doesn't have to be just you and me. We can sit and talk to groups of people, and we can laugh and joke and share about all the terrible things that have happened, and say, but you know what? We're here, and we're here together. And as long as we're here together and we can find people to talk to and share with, then we're never gonna be alone.
Right, and that's such an important message, is that we aren't alone. And it really just takes, I think we all have different levels of opportunity with help and assistance.
Absolutely.
To be able to work on ourselves and to be able to choose how we show up for like that next generation, like for our kids. And we get the opportunity to be able to say, you know what, we can make this. If we didn't hear like that our father loved us, right? If that was something that we didn't hear, or our mom, we have the opportunity to change that and break that cycle with our own kids, and just how powerful that is to be able to do that. It's really special.
It's an amazing opportunity. It's an amazing opportunity to break a cycle of harm, and instead of harm, to add nurturing, caring love. We can take that to every generation, not just our kids, but to school kids, to kids in the yoga community, to teenagers, to everyone we see. Like, I teach in high schools when I teach yoga, and I see kids and I know they're going through it.
Right.
And I will sit and we'll meditate for an hour, and we'll lay them on the floor, and I'll say, your feelings are important and valued, and you are important and valued, and don't let anyone make you feel like what you're experiencing is not worth experiencing. And you can feel the deep sigh of relief that someone feels when they're allowed to share and they're allowed to just feel something.
Right, and I think this is the perfect moment to say, like, you have permission. Your story matters, your voice matters, and how you show up to the world matters. And it's hard.
It's really
right?
hard.
It's really hard.
It's such a vulnerable place.
Yeah, right, and that if you're taking that opportunity to do that work and you have your heart in the right place, it's worth to continue to fight to help break that cycle, whatever that might be. And it's just important to find those people that you can talk to.
It's closing time, and you stayed out longer than you planned. So now you can't drive, and the buses have stopped running. You could always call your girlfriend. Or maybe your roommate? What about your best friend? You could just dial 1-888-TAXI-GUY or use the Taxi Guy app. The call and the app are free, and they both connect you to a local cab company to bring you home safely. Visit arrivealive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive, drive sober.
We were born in Canada. We spoke English. On the streets, we weren't welcome. But on the field, we were the Asahi. Vancouver's champions. Everyone cheered for us. Our people had a voice. Then Canada declared war on Japan. They took us from our homes, called us enemies, forced us into camps. But we brought the game with us. Baseball helped get us through the internment.
The Vancouver Asahi were among the 22,000 Japanese Canadians interned during the Second World War. The team never played another game.
Hi, Pastor Mark here. Join us each and every week on Sundays. All are welcome, no exceptions. That is St. Peter's Church, every Sunday at 11 a.m. God bless. We'll see you soon.
When I was little, my mother took me to the zoo. My love affair began right there. I wanted to know everything about giraffes, but there were no books, so I went to Africa to study them myself.
I was expecting Mr. Innes. You misrepresented yourself.
I certainly did not. I am A. Innes.
If I knew you were Miss A. Innes, I never would have invited you.
Exactly. My research was considered groundbreaking and published in the world's top scientific journals. I became known as the first authority on giraffes. Discrimination against women in Canadian universities prevented me from getting tenure, but my love for giraffes persisted all my life.
My mother, Dr. Anne Innes Stagg, was the first Western scientist, man or woman, to study any African mammal in the wild. In 2019, she received the Order of Canada.
Hey everyone, it's Sean Faro, and I'm thrilled to tell you that This Week in Rangers Nation is back for season number 2. I'll have everything you want with your East Ave Blue, special interviews, features, highlights, and more. Catch This Week in Rangers Nation every Friday.
Welcome back to KickBack. I am so excited to have you here. I'm also really excited to have my friend Maudie join us today, who's going to be sharing just an incredible story of perseverance and something that, you know what, we had never really talked about. Maybe there was glimpses of it in our path of knowing each other, but never like a full-blown conversation around that. And you have lived an incredible life, and it's just, I'm really excited to share that, because seeing where you are now with everything that you've experienced, it's special to be able to share that. And the fact that you're willing to share that with us today is just great. And so we want to go way back to the early years. Can you share what it was like living as a youth with the instability that you experienced?
Well, I think starting with at a really early age, my parents worked in the restaurant industry, so there was a lot of absence or neglect, I would say. I was in Quebec City, so I spent a lot of time alone. And I also spent a lot of time moving in different schools, so it was a lot of instability. And so I think it was just very lonely. There was not a lot of guidance. There was not a lot of direction. There was not a lot of boundaries. So it was just too free.
Right. And you mentioned the fact that your father had bipolar disorder. What was it like to live with him, navigating himself dealing with bipolar, and especially with you at such a young age?
So when I was born, my mother was with my father, but unfortunately, my father had such a severe, he didn't know that he was bipolar back then, but he had such a fear of parenting because his own mother and father rejected him repeatedly. And I think he was actually grew up in foster care, that he just rejected the whole idea of being a father and left when I was 1. So I had no contact with him until the age of 39. So I don't know what it would have been like to navigate that with him. But I know that it was just something that I probably internalized, thinking that it was my fault somehow, or it affected my worth somehow. Then I was adopted at 8 with my mom's new partner, and then they divorced when I was 12. So I didn't really have, although my adoptive father was a great father figure, he wasn't free, he wasn't free to discipline me. Because he was my adoptive dad, there was this little bit of a disconnect. And then when my parents separated, he abandoned me basically for a few years there. I didn't have a home to go back to anyway. So I was on the street I left home when I was 12 or 13.
How much you had to experience in those early formative years. I mean, at just 14, you were living on the street, you were experiencing exploitation, you were hitchhiking across countries. What was driving you during those years? What was it that you were looking for?
I was looking for, I had a dream or a vision that there was something beyond society's norms. So I didn't really want to go to school. I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to be free. I wanted to be a gypsy, and I just left. And I had a little bit of money, and I just left. And looking back, I can't even believe that I didn't have any fear at that time to do that, because I raised a daughter that's 25 now, and I know for sure that when she was 14, the things that I was doing at 14, but there was no parents. There was nobody ran after me. Nobody came to get me. My brother, when he found out that I had left, actually also disappeared for 14 years. I didn't know where he was, because I had a brother that was 8 years older than me that I really looked up to. However, he got me into addiction pretty young, and he was not really a good example. And my mother didn't come after me because she was dealing with her own life and divorce and alcoholism and her own emotional issues. Bankruptcy, I would call it. She can't, somebody that doesn't have, they can't give it to you.
Right.
And I think my mother also suffered from rejection and anxiety as well. And I think that was really difficult for her to be a good mom. Like, she really struggled. And my adoptive dad was also dealing with a lot of issues at that time because of the divorce. And he had a new partner that, was really not interested in helping me. I was a troubled teenager at that point. So when I left, when I hitchhiked to BC, nobody ran after me. Maybe it might have been a relief. And I hitchhiked across the States at 14. Like, even the thought of the borders letting me go through the border with a medical card. I didn't even have a passport back then. That would have been early 90s, and then went through across Mexico. And the fact that I even survived through that, there was a little bit of difficult situation, but somehow or other I always got scot-free. I don't know how I did that, but must have been protected somehow. And then went to New York, hitchhiked back to Quebec, and tried to go back to school. But at that point, there was so much hurt that it took years before I was able to, there was a whole journey after that, but it took a long time to heal. It took a long time to even get the help that I really needed, I would have needed. It just was an accumulation of, And then around 16 or 17, I definitely had a lot of psychosis and a lot of crying, a lot of, you know, you could really tell that my mood was not stable at that point. But I had been doing drugs since I was 12 all the way to night every day. I was doing, you know, drugs, LSD, mushrooms, and mind-altering substances. So that would have been really difficult to for me to grow normally, you know, emotionally because of all that. After that, I actually joined the Hare Krishna temple at the age of 18 because I was really looking for that structure and that discipline and the meaning of life and spirituality and everything that I wasn't really taught. I knew there was something more, and I learned a lot through that. You know, I was in BC. I became like a celibate single girl into that community. You know, I was taught how to dress and how to cook and how to do laundry and how to serve and how to, you know, and it was really discipline. There was a lot of discipline, waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I just kind of almost self-imposed a lot of discipline because I didn't have that before.
Yeah, almost the full cycle, the opposite way, right?
Absolute opposite way, and quite extreme, to be honest. And that was self-inflicted. I didn't know. I didn't understand all this. Now I know in introspection. It was just such a, I had such low self-esteem, and I was really looking forward to that. I was looking for a validation, family, identity. My identity was so, without a father, it's really hard to have an identity because that's where you're coming from. And whatever I identified with, my brother abandoned me, my dad abandoned me, my mom and dad, they got broken up and they couldn't provide me with, so I didn't have identity. So I was looking for identity everywhere I went. And then with the Hare Krishna, I got some kind of an identity, but no healing. There was no question about, hey, Maudi, like, you know, what did you go through? It was just like, okay, you have to wear a sari, you have to wear a bindi, and you have to, you know, worship this God for that and that God for that, and you gotta, you know, all these rules and regulations that I had to work hard for somehow. I don't know, salvation or redeem or peace or whatever, but nothing came. It was actually quite chaotic. My marriage was abusive. The people that were on top of us, giving us instructions, our spiritual masters, they call them, were abusive as well. So it was really, really hard. And finally, around the age of 29, I had my daughter through that, and that was beautiful. And then, but I was not. I was good for the first 4 years. I remember just being a dog, like just motherhood was great. Like I loved being a mama, but then around 4 or 5, my husband actually cheated on me or committed adultery. So we went through a messy divorce, and it was that time that I bowed out of the spiritual practice of Krishna consciousness. And I decided to just kind of be a free agent for a little bit and just not have any body telling me what to do or how to do it. And I sort of started to heal, but my self-esteem was so low. And I remember leaving my ex-husband everything. So I left him the house, I left him everything. So I got nothing. And I struggled so hard mentally, emotionally, financially. I had no roots. I had no idea of how to deal with finances. It was a very, very, very difficult time.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Ancestors came here from France to build a better life. We lived here happily for generations until the British decided they wanted our land. The men were called to a meeting and then imprisoned. They demanded we swear an oath to their king and took everything, regardless. We were forced from Acadie. The only home we knew. Mon Acadie n'existera plus.
From 1755 to 1763,